Welcome to Plantify Daily, where we explore the beautiful intelligence of the plant kingdom every single day. I'm so glad you're here. Today, we're diving deep into one of the most elegant examples of companion planting ever developed, the Three Sisters polyculture. We'll explore the fascinating history behind this indigenous technique, uncover exactly how these three plants work together in perfect harmony. And I'll give you a complete step-by-step guide to planting your own Three Sisters garden. Whether you have acres of land or just a few containers on a balcony, let's discover the magic together. The Three Sisters garden isn't just a clever planting technique, it's a gift from indigenous peoples of North America. This method was refined over countless generations of careful observation and deep respect for the land. Long before European contact, Native American communities across the continent were cultivating these three plants together. Particularly the Haudenosaunee, also known as the Iroquois Confederacy, and other tribes including the Cherokee, Choctaw, and many southwestern nations, were cultivating corn, beans, and squash together in sacred partnership. These weren't just crops to these communities, they were sisters. Each plant had its own spirit, its own role, and together they sustained entire civilizations. The crops were so intertwined with culture that they appeared in creation stories, ceremonies, and seasonal celebrations. Archaeological evidence suggests this polyculture system dates back at least 1,000 years and possibly much longer. What's truly remarkable is how this agricultural method spread across diverse climates and ecosystems, from the Great Lakes to the Southwest deserts, from the eastern woodlands to Central America. Each region adapting the basic principle to their local varieties and growing conditions. This is regenerative agriculture at its finest, practiced long before we had those words for it. While much of modern industrial farming depletes soil and requires heavy inputs of fertilizers and pesticides, the Three Sisters method actually builds soil health year after year. And here's what's beautiful: this ancient technique is just as relevant today as it was a millennium ago, perhaps even more so. So what makes the Three Sisters so special? Let's break down this brilliant partnership plant by plant. First, we have corn, the eldest sister. Corn grows tall and strong, with sturdy stalks that reach toward the sky. In the Three Sisters system, corn serves as a living trellis, a natural support structure. But it takes from the soil too, drawing nitrogen and nutrients as it grows those impressive stalks and ears. Enter the second sister, beans. This is where the magic really begins. Beans are legumes, and legumes have a superpower. Through a symbiotic relationship with special bacteria called rhizobia in their root nodules, beans can take nitrogen from the air and convert it into a form that plants can use. As bean plants grow, they literally fertilize the soil, replenishing the very nitrogen that corn is taking. It's a perfect balance. And those bean vines, they climb right up the corn stalks, using them for support. They never need stakes or trellises that gardeners would otherwise have to provide. The relationship is mutually beneficial in another way too. The beans actually help stabilize the corn in heavy winds. Their vines create a sort of guy wire system that keeps those tall stalks from toppling. Now the third sister, squash. Squash grows low and wide, sending out broad leaves that sprawl across the ground. These large leaves create a living mulch layer that does several incredible things simultaneously. First, those big leaves shade the soil, keeping it cool and moist even in the heat of summer. This means less watering for you and more consistent moisture for all three sisters. Second, that shade suppresses weeds. When squash leaves cover the ground, there's simply no room or light for weeds to establish themselves. No weeding needed. Third, squash leaves are often prickly or fuzzy, and this texture, combined with the dense ground coverage, actually deters pests like raccoons and some insects from easily accessing the corn and beans. And here's one more benefit that's often overlooked. Squash has a different root structure than corn and beans, mining nutrients from different soil depths and creating channels that improve overall soil structure and water infiltration. Together, these three sisters create a microclimate, a little ecosystem where each plant makes the others stronger. The corn feeds the beans' ambition to climb. The beans feed the soil that feeds the corn. The squash protects and nurtures both, while thriving in their shade and structure. It's not just companion planting, it's companion thriving. The brilliance of the three sisters extends beyond the garden itself. When you harvest and eat these three crops together, you're receiving complete nutrition. Corn provides carbohydrates and some vitamins, beans offer protein and fiber. Squash delivers vitamins A and C, along with minerals and healthy fats in the seeds. Together, they create a nutritionally complete meal, and indigenous peoples understood this intrinsically. When you combine corn and beans in particular, you get all 9 essential amino acids, creating a complete protein. This is why you see corn and bean combinations in traditional cuisines around the world: tortillas and beans, rice and beans, succotash. These aren't accidents of cuisine, they're nutritional wisdom. From an ecological perspective, the Three Sisters Garden is a masterclass in biodiversity and soil health. Unlike monoculture farming, where a single crop is planted across vast areas, creating vulnerability to pests and diseases, a Three Sisters Garden has built-in resilience. Pests that target one plant are deterred by the others. Diseases struggle to spread when their host plants aren't growing in a continuous field. The diversity above ground is reflected below ground too. Each plant has different root structures and different relationships with soil microorganisms. This diversity feeds a richer, more complex soil food web with more beneficial bacteria, fungi, and microorganisms than you'd find in a single crop garden. And because beans are actively fixing nitrogen and the squash leaves are decomposing on the ground as natural mulch, you're building organic matter and fertility season after season. Many traditional practitioners report that their Three Sisters plots become more productive over time, not less. This is regenerative agriculture in action, a system that gives back more than it takes. A system that leaves the soil healthier than it found it. In our modern world of climate change and soil degradation, these ancient principles aren't just nostalgic. They're essential blueprints for a sustainable future. Now let's get practical. I'm going to walk you through exactly how to create your own Three Sisters garden step by step. Timing: the key to Three Sisters planting is succession. You don't plant all three at once. Start with corn first, after your last frost date when the soil has warmed to at least 60 degrees Fahrenheit. Corn needs a head start of about 1 to 2 weeks to establish sturdy stalks. This gives them time before the beans are planted. Preparing your space: the traditional method uses mounds, and there's wisdom in this. Mounds provide excellent drainage, warm up faster in spring, and create distinct growing zones. Create mounds about 12 inches high and 18 to 24 inches in diameter. Space your mounds about 4 to 5 feet apart in all directions. This gives each sister cluster plenty of room. Work compost or well-aged manure into each mound. Even though beans will fix nitrogen, all three sisters appreciate rich soil. Planting corn in each mound: plant 4 to 6 corn seeds in a circle about 6 inches apart. The circle should be about 10 inches in diameter. This cluster planting helps with pollination since corn is wind-pollinated and does better in groups. When the corn is about 6 inches tall, thin to the strongest 4 plants per mound. Planting beans: wait until your corn is about 6 to 12 inches tall with established roots and sturdy stalks. This usually takes 1 to 2 weeks. Now plant 4 to 6 bean seeds around the corn in a circle just outside the corn circle. Choose pole beans, not bush beans. You want varieties that will climb. Planting squash: about a week after the beans, when the corn is even more established, plant squash seeds. Plant 2 to 3 squash seeds on the outer edge of each mound, or in the spaces between mounds. Squash needs room to spread, so don't crowd it. The vines will sprawl between the mounds, creating that living mulch layer we talked about. Variety recommendations: this matters more than you might think. For corn, choose traditional or heirloom varieties when possible. Dent corn varieties like Bloody Butcher or Oaxacan Green work beautifully. Sweet corn varieties can work too, though they're less traditional. Avoid super dwarf varieties: you need height for the beans to climb. For beans, go with pole varieties like Scarlet Runner, Kentucky Wonder, Hopi Black, or genuine cornfield beans. These are vigorous climbers that won't overwhelm the corn. For squash, almost any vining winter squash works wonderfully. Pumpkins, butternut squash, Hubbard squash, or traditional varieties like Seminole pumpkin. Summer squash like zucchini can work, but they require more frequent harvesting. Once established, the three sisters are remarkably low maintenance. Water deeply but infrequently, encouraging deep root growth. The squash leaves will help retain soil moisture. You generally won't need to fertilize, thanks to the bean's nitrogen fixation. The main maintenance is guiding bean vines toward corn stalks in the beginning and making sure squash vines have room to roam without blocking pathways. Don't plant all three at the same time. The staggered planting is crucial. Don't use bush beans, they won't climb and you'll lose the symbiosis. Don't crowd your mounds, these plants need space. And don't give up after one season if it doesn't go perfectly. Like any gardening technique, there's a learning curve. Each year, you'll understand the rhythm better. The beautiful thing about the three sisters is its adaptability. You don't need a huge farm to make this work. For small gardens, you can plant even a single mound and experience the benefits. Just ensure each mound is complete with all three sisters. Container gardens. Yes, you can do a modified three sisters in large containers. Use a container at least 24 inches wide and 18 inches deep. Plant 2 to 3 corn plants, 2 to 3 pole beans, and 1 compact squash variety. You won't get the full ground covering effect, but you'll still see the corn-bean nitrogen partnership in action. For raised beds, Three Sisters works beautifully in raised beds. Create mini mounds within the bed, or plant in staggered rows with the same spacing principles. As we grow Three Sisters gardens, it's important to remember we're not just using a technique, we're honoring a legacy. The Three Sisters method comes from indigenous peoples who stewarded this land for millennia before colonization. When we plant these gardens, we can do so with gratitude and respect for that knowledge. What strikes me most about the Three Sisters is how it invites us to see plants differently. Not as individual commodities to be maximized for yield, but as community members with relationships, gifts, and roles. So there you have it. The Three Sisters polyculture in all its ancient, elegant wisdom. Corn, beans, and squash, three plants that show us cooperation creates abundance, diversity builds resilience. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to Plantify Daily for daily plant wisdom. Leave your questions in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching today. Until tomorrow, happy planting, and may your garden be filled with cooperation, abundance, and a little bit of ancient magic.